Do we have copy? We go on in 5.
Writers won't union.
Oh, thank you, Anna.
Hello everybody and welcome back to Acting Out with Tanya. My name is Tanya Linette Smith and I am an acting coach here in Los Angeles, California. Today everybody, we are on part 2 of our memorization series, okay? Now part 1, we learned a technique called memorizing by rote. Okay, and memorizing by rote is just you're learning the lines, you have no feelings behind it, no emotions behind it. It is all about the words. Because once those words are perfect and you can say them perfectly, well, you haven't added anything to them because now you know them and you learn them just like a robot. Now you can start creating. You can start really creating your character because you know them. And so learning by rote is you say one line, you got that perfect. Once that one line is perfect, then you can move on to line 2. You got that perfect, you do line 1 and line 2 together. If that's perfect, you move on to 3. If you mess up in line 2, you go back to 1, blah, 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 and you learn it. Memorizing by rote. Today's episode, part 2, is memorizing by absorption, right? So memorizing by absorption. Memorization with absorption. Okay, now let me explain what that is. This is why I really, really like it. When you memorize and you absorb something, it's all about feeling. It's all about instinct. What is coming to your mind the minute you see certain words? So it's not by rote where it's not about the feelings, it's not about the character, it's not about anything, it's just about the words. This one you have the words, but it's also what are those words doing to you? How do they make you feel? And it's line by line by line. Now here's the thing, and this is why I like it. When you memorize using absorption, right? When you're just taking it in line by line by line, one line may make you feel a certain way. But then by the time you get to line 2 or line 3, whatever you thought about line 1, you now have different information that changes line 1 for you. It changes it. So you're constantly adapting, you're constantly taking in more and more information, and you're taking it in as it goes. Therefore, what I think is you get all filled up with these feelings and these pictures. So once you get to set and you meet all the other actors and you're about ready to go and you know you've absorbed it and you've worked on it a little bit, and the director might say, you know what, I don't see it that way. I see what you're seeing, but it's when she says the sky is dark blue, to her dark blue is like a teal color, and you're kind of doing it like you think dark blue is like navy. I'm just giving you a little example. Well, because you've been absorbing and you know what it's like to change things back and forth, you can go, oh, okay, I see it that way now. Do you understand? You're just taking it line by line, picture by picture, emotion by emotion, blah, 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 blah. So I'm going to give you an example. I'm so high tech, right, with my little clipboard. Okay. So let's just say you have a script. Now, I just wrote the words like line by line by line and took out all the script stuff so that it was easier for me to give this example. So you have the script, you got a 50-cent clipboard, and you get a paper and you put that paper over it so you can't see anything. I'm sure there's like a better, more high-tech way to do this. I'll have to talk to my editor. All right, so you have it like that. All you're gonna do is go down one line. Boop, that's it. That's all you get, one line. And it says bar in Chicago. So just know for this, when I say go down one line, that's what I'm doing. I'm going down line by line by line, but like I'm looking at my monitor here and it looks all weird. I'm gonna keep going like that. I'm just gonna keep it to me, but that's what I'm doing when I say I'm going down line by line. So right here, bar in Chicago. So what comes up for me? I think bar in Chicago, that means it's Chicago. So it's noisy and it's windy and it's cold, right? I'm so original. And I think bar in Chicago, I think one of those like mafia bars. I know, I'm so horrible. I think one of those mafia bars, and it's dark and it's smoky and everyone's smoking and they have these like big booths and they're like a maroon color. That's what I think. Boom, that's what comes to my head. I'm not gonna create too much more. I just these little pictures that come. And the next one says, Amanda and Greg rush into the bar. So my agent who called me and said, I have this audition for this great part for the role of Amanda. I already know Amanda is me, right? So Amanda is me. I'm just thinking Amanda is me. And then it says Amanda and Greg rush into a bar. So I'm thinking Greg. Instinct. What's my first thing that comes to my head? Because that's all we're doing. We're not taking too much time. So what's my first instinct? I think Greg from the Brady Bunch. Are you guys too young for that? The Brady Bunch? I think Greg from the Brady Bunch. Boom, that's all that came to my head, so I'm gonna go with it. Rush into a bar, okay. I'm thinking it's Chicago, like I said, and it's cold and it's windy. They would rush into the bar. They would, because it's cold and windy. The next line says they are wet. Oh, okay. So not only is it cold and windy, it's raining. I mean, that's why they're wet, in my opinion. Let's see, it could be another reason. It is raining. The next line says it is raining. So, okay, I'm getting more information. It's raining. Let's see. So they're in a bar and it's in Chicago and it's cold and it's raining and they've just rushed in. Let's see what the next line says. They are in New York City. They are in New York City. So now I'm like, okay, it says bar in Chicago. They're in New York City. Maybe that's just the name of the bar. Maybe the bar is called Bar in Chicago, but they're in New York City. Let's see. They go down one more line. The owner of the bar is from Chicago. Oh, the owner from the bar is from Chicago. So that's why we're saying bar in Chicago. Next line. Amanda plops down on a stool. Amanda plops down on a stool. So that makes me think she's cold. It's dark. It's wet. She plops down. She's had a hard day. Whew, I'm so glad to be in a seat. The next line says she is upset. Oh. Okay, she plops down, she's in a seat, she's going to a bar. I guess she's going to a bar to have a drink because she's upset and she's with Greg, who is her friend. The next line says, Greg sits next to her. Okay, make self-explanatory. She sits down, Greg sits down. That's all I need. The next line says, he puts his hand on her back. That's all I'm seeing, right guys? That's all I'm seeing. He puts his hand on her back and I think, oh, well, he's like putting his hand on his back to console her because, you know, she's upset. Okay, so let's go to the next one. Amanda looks at him. I think she like looks at him like, you know, thank you. I'm upset. Thank you so much for being a good friend, right? We go down. Greg gives her a hard pat. I'm like, okay, he gives her a hard pat. So maybe he's saying like, you know, snap out of it. Like, hey, give her, you know, it's okay. That's what comes to my mind. The next line. So those are all descriptions. The next one says Amanda. That's all it says. I know there's dialogue about to happen and I already know what Amanda looks like because she's me, because I'm the one auditioning. And it says, what the ... So I'm thinking she is not happy about this. He's not consoling her in her mind and she's about to say what the with some kind of profanity. So she's upset. We go to the next one. Greg. I already think Greg from the Brady Bunch, right? He says, you deserved that. I'm like, what is going on? Greg is not a nice friend. You deserve that? He's like hitting her. Did he rush into the bar with her? Did he follow her? I don't know. That's what's kind of coming to my mind. I think that they're fighting and they're upset. I think they did come to the bar together. She plops down, he plops down, smacks her on the back and says, you deserve that. They're arguing. Let's see. The next one I see is Amanda. We already know who Amanda is. And Amanda says, why? Okay, so she doesn't know what's going on. Maybe they're not fighting. Maybe he just kind of slapped her on the back because he has something to say. So she's curious. The next one is Greg. We know who Greg is, the guy from the Brady Bunch. He says, you need to get over Jake. Oh, they're best friends. Jake is the boyfriend, the ex-boyfriend, and she's been sad about it, right? And Greg is her friend, and he's helping her, and he's tired of hearing about it. So these are all these things that are coming to my mind. He's tired of hearing about it. He's like, look, we're going to have a drink. We're rushing to this bar. You need to get over Jake, right? Okay, let's see. The next line is Amanda. I already know that's me. And she says, we made a happy family. So this was her ex and they're a family and she probably has a kid and now they've broken up and gotten a divorce. This is what's in my head. And Jake, I think of Jake as like rugged and rides a motorcycle and he's a bad boy. All right, this is what I'm thinking. All right, that's my first instinct. Then we go down again. Greg from the Brady Bunch, right? He says, is that from a cartoon? Now, in my brain, when I hear is that from a cartoon, I remember there was a cartoon with like this little song, and it said, you know, I love you, you love me.
We're a happy family.
Isn't that how it went? If it didn't, that's how in my brain it went, okay? So he says, is that from a cartoon? So I think he's criticizing her, making fun of her maybe. The next line is Amanda. We know who that is. And it says Cartoon Network. So I guess she watches cartoons with her kid. Okay, Cartoon Network, that's why she knows it. We go down again and she says Jake loved it. Jake loved it. So like her loser ex who rides a motorcycle loves cartoons? Huh, maybe he wasn't this bad boy that I think he is. Maybe he was like a slacker dude that stayed home while she worked and watched cartoons. The next line. She says, he would just nuzzle up to me. And I'm like, nuzzle up? He would nuzzle up. Jake's a dog. Jake's a dog. That's what I think. Jake is her dog. He would just nuzzle up, and maybe he got sick and he had to go bye-bye, and that's why Greg is saying you need to get over him. Let's go down again. Greg, we know who Greg is. He says, he was gross. He was gross. So Greg, my friend, would come over and Jake didn't like him and he thinks he's gross. Maybe if he's saying he's gross, I think of like Jake was probably like one of those dogs that were slobbery. You know those dogs that has like the drool hanging out? Maybe he was like that, so maybe he was a little gross. And then Greg says, we both know it. We both know it. Okay, he was a slobber dog. That's what I think. He was a slobber dog. We both know it, but I'm his mama. I love him. Then he says he was stinky. I'm like, okay, I did have a stinky, drooly dog. Okay, he was stinky, fine. That's right. He made trouble. And I'm like, trouble? See, now I'm going back to, was he like an uncle or someone that like lived in my house and he was stinky and kind of old and stuff and he made trouble, like he didn't do things right? We go again and he says, he ruined my favorite sweater. Definitely a dog. Go down again. Amanda says, maybe you're right. She's starting to agree. I can think she's kind of looking at him. Probably has her drink by now. She's like, okay, right, looking at him. Maybe you're right. The next line says, but I will never get a cat like Jake. But I will never get a cat like Jake. Now, everything I thought about Stinky and Drooly and maybe the ex-boyfriend and then the dog, it's a cat. So you see, I'm absorbing it line by line by line, but I'm taking it in, enjoying myself, and I have all these pictures. So now that I think Jake the cat, I think of like an orange tabby, probably old, stinky because litter box, he was probably stinky and didn't groom himself well. And he probably did drool because maybe he was older, and he probably did ruin Greg's sweater because he probably didn't like Greg, and he would probably lay on it and like scratch at it. That's what came into my head. And then Amanda says he was the best. I love my cat. Greg waves to the bartender. Okay, so all of a sudden I think they're at this bar, they're talking. The bartender's over there, he waves. I think of the bartender like, I don't know, like a guy named Sal, because it's the Chicago bar, right? And he's probably like, you know, big, strong, stocky guy. I think he's bald. I think like he has like a tank top on with like a denim shirt over it. Kind of like that, beard, comes over to the bar. What do you want, right? He waves to the bartender. The bartender comes over. I think Sal walks over, moseys over, like, yeah, what can I get you? And it says, his name is Big Mike. So I thought he was Sal. Nope, he's Big Mike. That's who he is now. I have to create, he is Big Mike. The next line is, a little midget walks over. Okay, Big Mike, my big bartender. He's not Sal, he's Mike. I'm thinking he's a Big Mike, but now he's a little midget named Big Mike. So I got to get that picture in my head. The next line is Greg. We know who Greg is, Greg from the Brady Bunch. And the line says, 2 milks, please. What comes to mind? Milk. Are they in a bar, but maybe they don't drink? And I think, no, milk. Milk is for cats. So he's ordering milk for some reason, maybe to make up with Amanda. Greg raises his glass. He raises the glass. What's he gonna do? I think he's gonna make a toast. Let's see. He holds it up. He raises it, he holds it up, so he holds it up a little higher. Greg, we know who Greg is. The line is, to Jake. To Jake. I think Greg has a smile on his face. He loves his friend, and he says to Jake. Then we see the line, Amanda. We know who Amanda is, that's us. And the line says, to Jake. So this long drawn out story, I guess what I'm trying to say is, if you got that as an audition, you would have read that little thing in like a minute. You just a minute and kind of brush through it. But it's not a healthy read. A healthy read, the first time you read something has to be healthy because you only get that first time once. You only get that first time once. You can only absorb it for the first time once. After this, you're gonna have to start making decisions and feelings and things like that. But now you have pictures in your mind. Okay? Anyway, blah, blah, blah. I hope that helped you. That's part 2 of our memorization series, and we'll be back with part 3. Acting out.